Some amazing stories here, and I guess many of you in the room didn't know about the success stories on your own doorstep. And I do believe these are reference models. One of the things that inspired me when I was in San Francisco setting up a business was this notion of reality. I believe, fundamentally, there is no reality. And just to prove that right now, for those of you who've been staying through the whole track, we've been here for 3 hours in this room. For the last 3 hours, how far have we physically traveled? How many people think 0, because it's a trick question? Anybody got any different answers? Turns out we're on a big ball called the Earth that spins at 1,000 kilometers per hour. So we've also gone 2,000 kilometers from where we physically started. And we're also in a galaxy called the Milky Way that goes at 2.1 million kilometers per hour, which means that, depending on your perspective, we've either gone 4 million kilometers, 1 point whatever it was kilometers, 1,000, or 0. And the key difference is your own perspective. So now some of you will be thinking, we can question reality. This would be called the philosopher's dive, in which case you go deep into the philosophy of all of these things. Well, there's another way of doing it, and this is called the entrepreneur's leap, which is that if there is no reality, this means that we can, and have done, changed everything. This has been an amazing track so far. We have a great final speaker, and this is Dmitry, and he's going to be talking about investments here in Eastern Europe. With that, I'd like to say, welcome on stage. Welcome, Dmitry.
Hello. Thank you, Mark, for a gorgeous introduction. I think that was nothing to think of. Nothing I could think of better than you said. So my name is Dmitry Chikhachev, and I'm managing partner of Runa Capital. Runa Capital is a venture capital firm which is founded back in 2010 by 3 classmates, entrepreneurs, technologists. So we graduated from Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology, and 3 founding partners together had over 60 years of track record by that time when we founded Runa Capital as entrepreneurs and as managers, building software businesses. And from the very beginning, our idea was, we started out of Russia, but from the very beginning we decided to go international, because essentially the VC business is building or helping to build the global champions. And if we try to find global champions or future global champions, it makes little sense to look just in one country, because a global champion may come from either place. So currently we are in our fund 2. We invested in 43 companies. We had 7 exits and 2 funds under management at 270 million. From the very beginning, our idea was that we invest in tech, because tech, we believe, that's our competitive edge. We all graduates, computer science, we understand the technology, and especially technology was something which we believe is the competitive edge for the East European countries and East European startups. And I will try to explain you why we believe this way, and also give some perspective about what is the next big thing, as we think. So, and the investment thesis, we said, we invest in cloud. And cloud is something which is very fluffy. There are a lot of people thinking different things about what cloud is. And from our perspective, technology perspective, cloud is very simple. Cloud is just new architecture, which includes back-end software in data center or your physical servers, private servers. That includes front-end on mobile. Obviously, besides small, medium enterprise, there are several verticals such as fintech, such as healthcare, IT, such as online education, which are also being changed by the cloud technologies now. And you can add to this list some other industries such as retail or maybe other traditional industries which are using cloud architecture or cloud software to automate their old-fashioned business processes. So all those businesses, they had very similar way to interact with their customers. They had retail chains, basically. There are schools, there are hospitals or clinics, there are bank branches and retail outlets, and that's the way they interact. So basically, on ground level, all of them have similar processes. And now when each customer is connected to mobile with a front-end app, they can put some powerful back-end app in their data center and provide completely new way of services. So this is the concept. And finally, if you think, all this new architecture that created completely new load, completely new speeds and quantities of data and number of connections per second and so on. So all that requires, of course, new complex software underneath. It requires new complex middleware. Some of you may have heard of Nginx, the web server, the new generation web server, which handles requests much faster than any other. So, and that's another opportunity which we think is still the mainstream. Those three, I believe, currently are the kind of mainstream for venture capital. They exist for a few years, but they will continue for next maybe 5, 10 years. Their potential is not yet there. For example, healthcare IT and online education are in the very first steps of their development, partly because of regulation, partly because of conservatism of the medical doctors who are very kind of resistant in accepting any change. But anyways, these vertical markets will continue being automated. And I think many startups will be born in those areas. So, and then how this overlaps with Eastern Europe. I think the biggest challenge, or what I like in Eastern Europe, and what are the challenges in Eastern Europe, is that to start with the challenges, is that markets are relatively small, domestic markets, and they are relatively fragmented. So there are many countries. There is no such economy as Germany, which may give enough runway for a startup to just operate in the domestic market. So you need to, from day one, you need to go global. And that's how the Chinese people teach us your strengths is actually extension of your weakness. So being fragmented, we need to start being international from day one. On the opposite side, we have very good supply and very high availability of technical talent. So we have statistics that about 100,000 graduates in computer science come from Eastern Europe, and that's nearly twice as much compared to Western Europe. That's funny because it means that in Eastern Europe, GDP per capita is lower, but let's say computer science graduate per capita is much higher. A computer science graduate per GDP is rocket high, higher than in the US. And that gives a very strong fundamentals for creating technical businesses. And also the good side of the technology is that building a technology startup, unlike building a marketplace, for example, or building a transactional business, gives you more possibilities going global, gives you more opportunities to internationalize your business. Because, again, looking at examples of our portfolio companies like Nginx or Acronis, I mean, if you're using backup system, Acronis, okay, backup is very international. All people in the world are using backup in the same way. And you don't invest much in localizing your product. So having the technology, fundamental technology, you can easily translate it from one language to another and enter the new markets. And startups often ask me the question, if I should first reach certain success in domestic market and then go global, or should I try to go global day one? And I was answering this question differently because I had certain doubts. But recently we did a study, and empirically we found out that 90% of startups which in the end become successful globally, they're international day one. So actually there are many attempts of successful local companies to go to another markets which fail. So now I tell to startups, okay guys, if you think about international business, you have to be international day one. And finally, let's try to look beyond the horizon, and these are main trends of today. So what are the trends of tomorrow? Because that's probably the most interesting question for this audience, where I should start my own business. And there are many things, of course. There are many things. I was trying to pick up three, which I believe the most interesting, and so I will jump to those and try to give my perspective, maybe starting from the end, which is kind of the nearest thing and which is already has certain applications. Blockchain. Blockchain doesn't equal Bitcoin. Many people think blockchain equals Bitcoin. No, that's not correct. Bitcoin is just an application. So if you compare blockchain technology as technology and Bitcoin, it's like comparing internet and just a single website or a single web app. So Bitcoin is just the first application of blockchain, but there are many others in security, in data consistency, and essentially this is an opportunity to build a distributed data storages, trusted data storages, without having trusted intermediaries. So those of you who have very superficial understanding of blockchain maybe have to spend some time and understand what it is. And then you may have brilliant ideas how to build business around that. Another thing which is already getting initial traction, well, it's called machine intellect, machine learning, artificial intelligence. There are many names for that. And that's a very funny thing because machine learning is, the science behind machine learning was developed 20 years ago. When I went to university, we already did some studies in machine learning. But the problem at that time was that the theory was there, but there was enough data to educate the machine. Now we've got the missing piece, so now we've got, thanks to cloud technologies, thanks to connectivity, thanks to tons of data coming from all sources, now we have enough data to educate the machine using the theory, using the math that was developed 25 years ago. And there are a number of applications where machine learning may be used. It's not only chatbots, like many have read those stories about chatbots, like there are applications which predict churn or predict customer satisfaction. But for me, the most interesting thing is the application for Internet of Things. Actually, Internet of Things will create even more data than Internet of People, because we have more things than people, more connected devices than people. And data are more accurate and more precise. And kind of in machine-to-machine communication, the predictive algorithms can be used for many things. For example, for predictive maintenance of machines, or prescriptive maintenance of machines. So it means that you need when you have to fix it before it's broken. Not you fix it when it's broken, but you fix it just before it's broken. And finally, the quantum technologies. I mean, this is something, again, we studied at school, the quantum physics, but now when we are kind of 2 steps away from quantum computing, which will kind of turn the world upside down, break the Moore law, and you will have a lot of interesting opportunities, a lot of interesting insights around that. So happy to help you in building this future. Please come to us. We're happy, again, to talk and discuss your ideas in any areas that relates to tech and software. Thank you.